Today we have with us Aichelle White. Super happy to have you here with us today as we kick off our second season of the MKE Tech Podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And again, so grateful to have you here with us. I can't wait to really dive into your journey and to learn more about your company and highlight all the cool things you do within the tech industry. Before we dive in, I love to start with a little quirky question. Okay. I'm going to throw something out there. All right. If you were a drink, what drink would you be and why?
Oh, that was a good one. I'm going to have to say Henny because I would be everywhere. Everywhere.
Okay. Hennessy.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say I love Hennessy.
Fun.
Listen, we love Hennessy. I did a commercial with Hennessy. I think in 2021, it was so funny because I don't really drink. And they had me take a shot. And they wanted me to like lift up the shot glass. I was like, take a sip, lift up the shot glass and say something like something clever about Milky Way. I think it said like, Milwaukee is the Milky Way Tech Hub. By the time I took that shot, I was like, Milwaukee. I couldn't get it out. One shot of Hennessy almost did me in. And not us talking about drinking.
People have a good time. They are cool, calm, fun.
Yeah.
That's who I be. Hennessy.
I like that. If I were a drink, I think I would be probably like something boring, like a chai latte or something. Because it's sweet and spicy, you know?
It's warming.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my personality. But yeah, I like your answer too. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's talk tech, okay?
Cool.
All right. So there's a lot of cool things going on in the tech ecosystem, and we'll get into that really soon. But first, I want you to share with the listeners a little bit more about you and your journey. So please share. Who is Aichelle White?
I am a musician, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur. I'm a live streamer, positive content creator. I am the proud owner of MuSample. I host a bi-monthly concert series entitled the MKE Live Groove Edition, where it's all live instrumentations and music artists have to bring it. Wow. I live stream on multiple platforms, from video games to music to cooking, karaoke, workouts, meditation. I'm pretty much everywhere where every music creative or artist should be.
Henny. Okay. Anything's possible.
Anything. Literally.
Yes. I love that. Okay, that's a lot. And I find that, especially when it comes to like, younger generations, we embrace our multidimensional selves. You don't have to be one track, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so many things that, you're obviously interested in and curious about, and you lean into that. And I love that.
Yeah. I struggled a bit.
Okay.
Because, when you're growing up, they're like, you have to find that one thing and like stick with it. And it's like, that was my struggle. It's like, no, I'm talented at a lot of things. So let me just do this my main focus, but I'll do these on the other end. And then when COVID hit, all of my other ends like seemed to boost up while the main thing was like, can't go outside, can't really do anything. So got to find something else.
But I think that's real. And that is the hazard of like, just always like asking children or young people, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? As if there's that one thing, and like to pretending as though there's like a linear track to this one thing as well, right? A lot of folks, I think, found out during the pandemic, like,
you gotta have
more than one thing. You really do.
Yeah.
And so I think the folks who embrace their multidimensional selves were better off and still are because they're able to tap into their different gifts.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Where do you spend most of your time these days?
With family and, streaming and family.
Streaming. Okay, before we started the podcast, you were talking a lot about Twitch. You were educating me, and I was like, okay, I need to get on Twitch. I thought I was doing something on TikTok, making my little pointing to the thin air, editing and stuff. But then you started telling me about Twitch, and I'm like, I gotta get into Twitch right away. Tell the listeners about Twitch.
Well, Twitch is a platform. Most people think it's for like video gaming. It is for video gaming, but like during the pandemic, there was DJs coming over. There's I Just Love Puzzles. She's like the grandma of Twitch.
Okay.
She does puzzles. Like she does 500,000. She just did a 5,000 piece puzzle. Like
so actual puzzles.
Actual puzzles.
I was thinking like crossword puzzles or
no, like she does actual puzzles,
and
like
she streams
old school
that.
grandma puzzles, and she streams that for hours.
I'm about to stream. I don't know what I'm about to stream.
Hours. And like I do cooking, there's workouts, there's I'm Just Sleeping. If you're out there and you don't like your job and you keep complaining about your job, go to Twitch and look up I'm Just Sleeping. These people are making money just sleeping.
And that blows my mind because here I am. You ever see those memes where it's like people drawing clown makeup on their face, like getting ready to go to my job while some 6-year-old is making $20 million on YouTube, just opening up toys or something like that?
But it's just those things. Like I tell artists, like the music is cool, but right now we're coming off the end of it, or not off the end because we're still in it, but we are in the midst of a pandemic. We want to know how you're surviving. We want to know how you're living. What do you eat? Where do you shop? What kind of toothpaste do you use in the morning? People might laugh at that, but we really do want to know that. When you're scrolling, what are you looking at? You're looking at all of that.
It's really interesting because there's so many like different niches that people don't even think about, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like, what could I stream? Of course, like maybe even this podcast, right?
Of course.
But maybe when I'm doing my research, if people can stream themselves sleeping, then I'm about to stream myself studying and suffering.
There's like a computer science one where people are building codes, or they're building cosplay stuff. The possibilities are endless.
Wow. Okay. So I wanna transition though into your entrepreneurship journey, because clearly, you are one of those entrepreneurs that knows how to tap into different revenue streams, starting with the streaming, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does MuSample play into all of that?
Well, the first thing I said was I'm a musician. So I've grown up in a musically inclined family, and my uncles traveled the world as hip hop artists. And they were like, hey, you're not going to be a singer, or you could be a singer songwriter, but we want you to focus on the business. No, I mean, I totally got what they were saying because, the music industry, while we see money and sparkly and glitz, is definitely cutthroat. It's definitely deep. And they were like, we need you to learn the business. And so my uncle was like, you need to sit down a steady, windy day. And I've always been a researcher. I like go down rabbit holes on all kinds of things.
Wow.
And so I started to understand the business, and I couldn't understand, like you see all of like your favorite artists and it's like they die broke or they don't have any money.
Yes.
And it's like, how is that possible? And they have the #1 song on the charts.
Right. That reminded me of TLC.
Then you understand it's the business behind the music. And so I I inquired so much about how it works and where it works. And I was like, we should teach more people this. And then I started to learn. I went and got a degree, and it was like, it's a difficult balance because most artists don't really care to learn that. They'll learn that once they get over there and make millions of dollars. And it's like, no, you probably should learn this before you make that. So when you go in there and they have that money on the table, you're not just like, let me get this money. You like, what am I giving away by accepting this money?
Got it. So what is the average use case for a MuSample? A user story, a customer story.
I have anywhere from independent artists to artists who have worked with major recording artists, and just showing them like, hey, you need to have ASCAP, BMI, Sound Exchange. Like, this is your foundational things you need to have, because a lot of times, like, there's this whole thing with publishing, and most people feel like you don't make a lot of money from publishing, but you do. I was telling someone, like, I asked the question like, who wrote "I Will Always Love You," right? And most people say Whitney Houston, and I'm like, no, that's Dolly Parton. And she wrote that song in 1967, 68. Mm-hmm. And from that day, the first day she wrote it and it went live, she's made money off of it. She crossed multiple genres. She's been in advertisement everywhere. And it's like 27 other people who sung that song got awards, got money. It's just all kinds of, there's so many different formulas when you think about getting paid music wise. But so for me, most artists don't know that. So I'm like, hey, I know you see the touring, you see Beyonce, you see the awards and all of those things, but it's the things on the back end that help you get there.
I love that. And so needed, especially now with the acceleration of AI.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about AI for a bit. So I'm a computational scientist by trade. A lot of folks don't know that. And my research specifically is in natural language processing. A lot of folks don't know that as well. So I'm just beyond fascinated with generative AI and all the things that we've been seeing over the last year or so. And I'm just curious, how have you been leveraging AI, or how have you been seeing how AI has been impacting the music industry?
I've definitely been paying attention to the ability to use other people's likeness, because that's a form, another form of monetization. Yeah. And so I've been focused on mainly the trial or the case with the Drake, The Weeknd, and Metro Boomin.
Yes.
Because what people don't realize is like their AI is like, well, there's Beyonce and Drake, but AI is like right up there with them on streaming platforms and things like that. And people are just like, there's people using other people's voices for everything, and there's fake collabs. Like that was the first one everybody just talked about, because Drake was like, hey, that's not me. But
that's not okay.
There's so many people using it, and I began to like really be attentive in it, because it's like that's public display, like that's public image, like that's my image, that's my voice. And a lot of contracts now, because of the the different social platforms and stuff, are including digital, are including name and likeness and all of those things, because anybody could wake up and be like, I wonder what Michael Jackson sounds like with Chris Brown,
or I wonder what Michael Jackson sounds like singing X song. Right?
Yeah.
I remember hearing a song, a mashup between, which was between, I think, Kanye and Jay. And then instead, they use AI to make it a mashup between Biggie and Pac. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what has the world come to?
They're doing some of it is really amazing. It's like, oh, but you can get in trouble for that. But it's like, I don't really care, because it's like, I can do it. You're going to like it. You're going to share it with your friends, and then you're going to come and check out the other things that I'm doing.
Yeah. So the thing about how AI is advancing so rapidly is that, unfortunately, regulations don't, right? Yeah. And typically they move a lot slower, which allows for more people to use AI however they want to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the wild, wild west right now, which is extremely interesting to watch and see unfold. But I think that it kind of points back to MuSample. To me, I feel like there's an even higher demand than ever for your product.
And that's where I'm currently working on publishing administration. Because like I said, like many artists don't understand the value that one song can bring. Like Dolly Parton, I mentioned Dolly Parton a minute ago. She has 970 plus songs in her catalog. So she does with I Will Always Love You, with her other 900. That's why she has Dolly Land and cakes, cookies, pies, dresses, all of that.
Everything.
Yeah.
Dolly making money. Okay. All right. Listen. So there's so many things that are happening within our ecosystem that I want to quick touch on. We are, again, kickstarting the second season of this podcast, MKE Tech Podcast, because we're heading into Wisconsin Tech Month, which is in October, and Milwaukee Tech Week, which is the first week in the month. And so I'm super excited to be highlighting all of the different contributions and all of the awesome organizations that have been making the statewide ecosystem what it is today. And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Wisconsin Tech Month and now Milwaukee Tech Week being led by Milky Way Tech Hub and Latinos in Tech? Much different than how things used to be, maybe even 6-7 years ago.
Well, I'm happy to see that there's a lot more representation. There's a lot more of community because oftentimes I'm in the music community and like we get left out a lot. Music and entertainment get left out a lot. And so I'm just happy that there is more like not just African American, but Latinos, women, because a lot of the events you go to, it's like, oh, hi. And it's just a couple of us. But now it's like it's starting to get more diverse.
Absolutely. We have a whole week dedicated to women in tech throughout Wisconsin Tech Month. For those of you who are listening who are not familiar with Wisconsin Tech Month, it was started in 2021 in partnership with Governor Evers. And the whole effort is to ensure that we're not just using and advancing tech for tech's sake, right?
Yeah.
But to better the lives of residents, not just here in Milwaukee, but statewide. And I think that is super, super important to continue to emphasize why, Black and brown people should lead this effort. And so to have a Black woman-led tech hub, Milky Way Tech Hub, and a Latina-led tech initiative, Latinos in Tech, to be running a statewide effort, I think is really, really important. And it is a great way to start to change that narrative that we hear about Milwaukee, because both organizations are based here in Milwaukee and we're leading this statewide effort. And I think that's cool. And so I just can't wait to continue to highlight organizations like MuSample in the month.
I want to say thank you too, because I went to your chat GPT during Social X.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty dope because, like in the African American community, anything that's new, we like, I don't know if I should do it. But then, I was excited to go to chat GPT because I went to a different chat GPT. And I found out like, wait a minute, you're using it to do all of these different things. And then when I went to yours, it was like, showed like how to, it blew my mind. I'm just going to say that. Really? I'm still experimenting with it right now. But I was telling everybody like, you guys got to get into it.
Yeah. And, that's one of the reasons why we have had such a huge focus on educating our communities on AI, specifically generative AI like ChatGPT and Bard and Claude. It's because you're right. Our communities were hesitant and it, I think that some of that hesitancy is, systemic, right? Yeah. I mean, if you think all the way back, at one point in time, it was illegal for us to read.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there was a lot of, obviously, like the hesitancy was based off of fear, right? And so now, history repeats itself. And so when there's something new, right, we might be, conditioned to think, well, that's the devil. I've heard people say AI is the devil, right? That's the thing. Yeah. And I've heard it many times. There's a lot of people who are, afraid of AI. And I think that it is important to be mindful of what the future of AI can bring, but it's also equally important, if not more important, to actually think about, the risks of not knowing and educating ourselves, right? Yeah. Because we'll fall further and further behind. So that's a whole nother podcast. But we had to touch on it today because that's a real thing.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say thank you because a lot of people I knew like wouldn't have actually came out. So it was dope.
Yeah, well, then we should have more of that. I'm glad to get good feedback on that. And shout out to Social X for hosting such an incredible event. And they are actually the host for our opening and closing party for Wisconsin Tech Month. So make sure that you visit witechmonth.com to get a full list of all the incredible events that we're going to be hosting throughout the month of October. Aichelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
This was great. Thanks.
You're welcome.